Adopted Class has been a client of Office Keys for, I think, about 6 years now. Office Key has adopted a class for, I think the first time we did it was 2017. Obviously, the past year has been a little bit different, but we've appreciated our work with them and our partnership. And so anyway, we're glad to have Sonya here. A little bit about her. She started. We talked about this a little bit earlier before some of you guys got on, but she started.
Yes.
Was it March 20th last year?
It was.
So it's a very interesting date to be starting a new position. But she is CEO of Adopted Class, and she's had a career dedicated to I think it's creating academic opportunities for underserved communities, and she's obviously continuing that great work with Adopted Class here in our community. So with that, Sonya, I'll turn the floor over to you, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Justin. I appreciate the opportunity. And I would just share my favorite spring moment, particular to this spring, because our youngest is a senior in high school, and it was him making his college decision so that I don't have to open one more piece of college mail, because that didn't stop during the pandemic. Yeah. So he has decided to attend Ohio Northern University and study business and play basketball at Ohio Northern.
Cool.
So
awesome. Congratulations.
We're excited. That's our spring big moment, and watching it play out. Now we get to do some normalcy of a senior year. We'll see what that looks like to end the year.
Has he been playing basketball?
Hasn't been. Excuse me?
Has he been playing basketball this season? They had a season?
He did.
Good.
He got in a full season this winter and is on the court every day, getting ready to go off to college. So.
Awesome.
So that's exciting for us. But I am Sonya Fultz, and my claim to fame with Adopted Class may always go down in history that I did start on March 20th of last year, when Governor DeWine told us all we would not go to work in the state of Ohio. So it was an interesting start, but I have been a lifelong educator. I taught for 10 years in 4th, 5th, and 6th grades around Greater Cincinnati, and then went into higher education in teacher education and administrative roles specific to creating academic pathways for students in often underserved communities, first generation students, and adult learners primarily. So the opportunity to join Adopted Class was an opportunity for me to bring both of my passions together in educating students successfully and in networking and creating pathways into career opportunities post high school. When I joined Adopted Class, I was very lucky. Some of you may have known Julie Schiffman. She left me a fabulous board, just amazing staff, financially stable organization. So in so many ways, I've been very blessed to step into the role with Adopted Class and continue the work. The work has changed over the last 12 months because of the pandemic, and none of us saw that coming even through my interview process. So from the time I accepted the job until the time I stepped in for the first day, everything really shifted in that 3 weeks. And so I thought today I would just give you a sense for those, and it will help me. Is anyone not familiar with the program? Because I know many of you have participated. Great, super, that helps. So I'll give an overview then of who we are and what we do, and the students that we serve, the partners that we work with to serve those students. And then I'll talk about what the last year has been and how we have really pivoted to make sure that we still reach our students and that we still provide the best services possible through a variety of avenues that we've used over the last 12 months. So I'll just start by sharing my screen to give a PowerPoint. It is not too long, and it moves very quickly. That's the good news. And then we'll open a.
Oh no, Sonya.
Oh, did we lose her?
We did.
The wrong button.
For sure, wrong
Hopefully she can jump back in quickly. Keep us on pins and needles for a minute.
It's an awful small box to jump into.
Yeah, it is. Got a little Brady Bunch thing going on right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have, I was say we'll give her a minute if she doesn't show up. I don't know if we have a cell phone for her. We could call her real quick. I'm sure she maybe just pressed the wrong button. It should be easy to join back in. Keep an eye on that admit option, Aisha.
Yeah.
He's probably panicking right now. Hopefully, I feel bad for her.
Here she is.
There we go. Good. Welcome back.
Okay, we had that so successful when we practiced earlier. I'm not sure why that didn't just happen, but let me try again.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, super. I've never had that happen. Okay, so just a bit of information about us. Who we are is, we're a mentoring organization. It is a group mentoring model. We typically keep a ratio of 1 to 4, so 1 adult to every 4 students. And we connect groups, both business and civic groups, throughout Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky to reach high poverty schools. When we say high poverty schools, the definition of a high poverty school is that over 75% of the students qualify for free and reduced lunch. And all of our schools that we serve are high poverty schools. Our mission is to create a Greater Cincinnati where all students have access to caring adults who expose them to a breadth of life and career experiences. We do this by partnering with pre-K through 8th grade classrooms, identifying our partners, and matching those partners with those pre-K through 8th grade classrooms so that our mentors can increase students' knowledge of careers that are available to them. But equally, we want to increase our mentors' knowledge of challenges faced by youth growing up in poverty and how they can make an immediate impact on their community with that information. I said we serve all high poverty schools. These are the 33 schools we currently serve. We serve 190 total classrooms this year. That is down from about 270 at our highest pre-pandemic. But we've been able to keep and know that we have retained for the fall 80% of those schools, and we will work to build back up to that 270, and we think we'll do that relatively quickly. You can see that the predominant number of our schools are in Cincinnati Public. 21 of our 33 schools are, although we reach as far north as Princeton, currently as far south as Newport and Covington, but we will this fall open a school in Florence as well.
Real quick question, Sonya. Is the drop off from the high pre-pandemic, is that from corporations not adopting, or is it the classrooms not saying we're available, or a little combination?
That's a good question. It is almost exclusively from our corporate partners not being able to participate during the pandemic. Many of them, it's been because of loss of total number of employees available. Some it was time. Some actually increased their workload, especially if they were specifically related to PPE or other areas and weren't able to give of employee time. We did not have any districts tell us that they wanted to take the year off. They all actually said we would absolutely welcome any volunteer opportunities that can happen virtually because they were so limited in the partners that could indeed do that. So this is how we do it. We offer a variety of experiences to students. The adopters bring STEM lessons, college and career lessons, and essential employability skills, which are those soft skills, listening, public speaking, all of the soft skills that we know are so important for our students to be future successful employees and employers. They bring those lessons to students in the classroom as a team of 8 to 12 volunteers from one business partner or civic partner for 1 hour once a month. During the pandemic, we continued this. We did it virtually. Our 190 classrooms that were served had 190 teams that showed up every month to do a virtual lesson, that we supported them in regard to curriculum, or that they went ahead and designed their own curriculum to be able to successfully continue their mentoring relationship. The model is that you do those monthly school lessons. They are matched with the educational activities that we provide or that the teams build during those monthly school visits. We do ask and encourage our teams to take their students on a field trip at the end of the year. Traditionally, we ask that that is to your place of employment so that students can see those careers in person, although many of our teams also take them to area field trip locations that are so popular in Greater Cincinnati, like a park or museum center, the aquarium, the art museum. Most recently, I know we have some baseball fans. Most recently, the Reds Hall of Fame Museum has become a great partner for us. They will be adopting their own team as a staff, but they are also welcoming our students and mentors to host field trips there as well. And they offered virtual field trips even yet this spring for our teams. And then we ask that our teams do pen paling with their students. I know the Office Keys team has traditionally been preschoolers, which makes that almost impossible to do. But with our K-12, or I'm sorry, our K-8 classrooms, we do encourage pen paling. Historically, that has been done through pen and paper notebooks that are traded between the mentors and the classroom teacher. As of this fall, we will launch a virtual platform for all of the pen paling. It's as easy as responding to a Facebook post or a blog post. So we think that will be utilized at a much higher rate by our teams, and we're excited to add that. We didn't launch it this year, which seems like it would have been a great year to launch it given everything else was virtual, but we felt that working through the different parameters with the districts to have the permissions that we needed to get the emails for students, and not giving our teachers one more platform to try to manage, we would be more successful in the fall with that rollout. So that rollout will happen for our teams in the fall, and we're really excited about that. Why do we do what we do? Well, here are the current regional poverty statistics for Greater Cincinnati, and some of these numbers are really shocking when you look at them and realize the students that we serve are facing some pretty difficult statistics to be able to change their circumstances. That big number in the middle, 65% of Cincinnati's children are living in families that struggle to be financially stable, has only become exacerbated during the last year, given the increased difficulties that families have faced. But these are pre-pandemic numbers. So imagine what they would be today as we look at it during the pandemic. Some pretty shocking statistics that face the students that we serve. And this is the education that we work with our mentors to come to understand so that they have the ability to go out and navigate their personal choices that can make a difference. These are 5 news stories in very recent years that were also published in regard to poverty in Greater Cincinnati and being able to really impact the students that we serve. So again, it just continues to remind us that the work is so critically important. Unfortunately, we know those statistics do lead to life choices and future statistics that impact our students if something doesn't change in their schooling experience. So 40% are more likely to drop out of high school. They're 7 times more likely to spend adulthood in poverty. They're 32 times more likely to have an unplanned pregnancy. And they're 6 times more likely to go to prison if you drop out. So we want to change these statistics. We want to make sure that our students see pathways for themselves that they feel are going to make them successful post-high school. And we work hard to put those caring adults in their lives on a consistent basis so that they understand there are a variety of ways for them to go into adulthood and change these statistics. These are each long. I'll give you 3, but I'll talk during them. You can choose to read if you would like, but I want to give you these because they provide the different perspective. And I think, Justin, your question is just to this. These are quotes this year from a teacher at Euler talking about their experience with their students. and the impact that this makes. Our teachers have continued to be our greatest allies. They have often reported that during the virtual visits monthly that are continuing to happen in those 190 classrooms, they have higher attendance than they do any other time during the month because students are excited about their mentors coming. We always knew that pre-pandemic, that our teachers told us students came to school and we're excited every day that a visit was going to happen, but we have seen that trend continue even through the pandemic, through virtual learning. From a partner view, this is from Jim Sullivan, who is a managing director at US Bank. He has led teams for us for the past 8 years. He's also on our board, so he speaks very highly, of course, of the organization, but Jim gives a great view on the impact that we make from an adopter perspective. I think what's really important, and I hope the office team can echo this, is that in forming a team from a corporate, business, or civic partner perspective, it gives the team the opportunity to have an experience monthly outside of their daily routine, and they work with one another differently in planning for those class visits and thinking about, for our office team, those preschoolers that they're going to go spend time with on a monthly basis. And many times for our larger corporate partners, they say that our teams work with people they would have never known even worked in their partners. So we will have, a CEO working with the marketing director, working with 2 frontline employees, all around these classroom visits, something they would have never really interacted with prior. So it really builds that collegial relationship across our corporate and civic partners. And then, of course, from the school view, our schools are critically important to us, and the relationship that we build is why we can be successful with our partners. Each of our schools have a contact person. Typically, it is the resource coordinator or the enrichment manager. This quote comes from Tiffany Ham at Euler. It was the first school we started at 17 years ago, but Tiffany has watched our program grow and impact so many students at Euler. And one of the successful components to us building such a strong school-based relationship is that we can start to respond to other needs as they have them. So for example, this summer, Tiffany is working to build a high school experience, which we typically don't work with high school classrooms, but they are working to get some credit recovery given the pandemic has caused students to not be successful in all their classes, and they needed internships. And we were able to reach out to our partners and say, who would provide a 12th grader an internship for the summer? And we have 40 internships filled for them. So oftentimes that relationship allows us to navigate other ways to impact our schools as well. How can you help? Well, number one way that all of our partners help is to build our mentoring teams. Our program does not happen without corporate and civic mentor teams being able to commit to that once a month, 1 hour a month in the classroom. We find that we are getting really creative with how we're doing this. We're now working with small business alliances that are bringing 2 and 3 like-minded businesses together that may not have enough employees to have a team on their own, but they can bring 2 other like-minded businesses along and build a team between that alliance. So we're starting to see some really creative ways of increasing the number of teams, but ultimately that is where we see the organization continuing to grow, is our continued increase of relationships to build teams. This is what I talked about earlier. The good news is that when teams come on board with us, it not only impacts the students, it impacts their team and their company as well. And that corporate culture can really shift. We know that our companies tell us that when they value giving back and volunteering together, they have employee retention rates increase, and the feelings of camaraderie and teamwork increases as well. And those are statistics we've been able to gather over several years to continue to support that we not only make an impact on our students, we make an impact on our mentors. This is a large list of many of our partners. This is only a portion of that list. The list is much longer and available on our website, but we do reach far and wide to create these partnership relationships to bring a variety of experiences. So, I know that Aisha has a preschooler, if her daughter, correct?
Yes.
Yes, if she went through one of our school programs over the course of 6 years, our goal would be that she is mentored by 6 different corporate and civic partners, so that when she leaves in 7th grade to make her choice for a 7 through 12 high school experience, she understands what it means to work in a financial industry versus an architectural industry versus a civic organization and nonprofit management. And she can then start to look at her future and say, what will get me to where I think I want to be? And for our students, that wide set of experiences that they may not have gotten from their home relationships really is the power of the program. We know that students are making choices by 7th grade on what academic pathway they take to get where they want to go from a career perspective. So the earlier we can expose them to this wide variety of options, the more successful they can be in making that choice for their 7th through 12th grade experience. We are the largest group mentoring organization in Greater Cincinnati. We're very proud of that. It's a simple process to join us. As Office Key knows, you form a team of 8 to 10 employees that can commit to that 1 hour once a month, October through May. You assign a team lead, and that team lead does the coordination with the staff member from Adopt a Class that's assigned to them and the teacher that the team is assigned to. And then you complete your new adopter orientation. It's a 90-minute orientation that our staff completes with your team. You create a budget. Typically, we ask for a $550 program fee. That does not apply to any of our community and civic groups. We don't ask that of our nonprofit partners that join us. And we have been flexible this year because I value, our team values, and our board certainly supports us valuing your volunteer hours first and foremost. We wanted to retain as many teams as possible. And I will say some teams also stepped up and said, we can't participate, but we'll continue to pay our program fee, which has helped to offset us keeping some of our small businesses that said we have our volunteers, but we can't pay the program fee. So we're so appreciative on both sides of everyone being flexible to keep as many of our students mentored during the pandemic. We always say that our children in our communities need exposure to outstanding role models, to caring adults, and different opportunities available to them in life. They need someone to listen, to encourage, to inspire, and to provide hope. They need us. And we share that everywhere we go because that's how we make a greater impact. So I'll stop sharing there and answer any questions specifically about what I presented, and then we can have a discussion about what has it looked like this year, which has been very different.
Anybody have any questions?
Sonya, what's the, is there a step in the process for the team to meet with the teacher to really learn about the class and what the curriculum is and what the teacher's plans are so that the team fits in well? Is that a step in the process?
That's a good question. Typically, the way we've handled that is that we have an on-deck list of teachers at every school that we partner with that are waiting to be matched with a mentor team. And we then ask that new mentor team, what is your interest in location? Because we want them to be somewhat close to where they work to be able to get to those visits. We ask them their age preference and grade preference. We don't want anyone blowing noses in kindergarten if they don't want to be. Your team loves preschoolers, but not every team loves preschoolers. Some would like older students. So we ask a grade band preference, pre-K to 2, 3 to 5, or 6 to 8. And then we look at who our vetted teachers are, and we do vet all of our teachers so that they understand the ask from a teacher perspective on what they would need to do with their partner. We then make that match, make the introduction, ask them to have an initial conversation to make sure that the match seems to make sense. And then we move forward with helping them coordinate their visits. So some of that's on us. We try to keep as much of that off the teacher as possible, but we do the vetting on both sides, both with us vetting teachers as well as asking our team sort of what are they looking for out of the experience with a classroom match.
You mentioned Sonya. Oh, go ahead, Abby, if you have a question. You don't unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah. I was just wondering, because I think all this is great. Has there been any data kind of showing what the impact of these sorts of mentoring groups have had on kids?
We do have significant data over the past several years. It is difficult to do student-based data because we can't say that we impacted attendance with once-a-month visits. We can't say that we increased their achievement levels, but we do provide data annually based on our mentors and surveying our mentors, and as well as surveying our teachers and resource coordinators on impact. We also have raw data. All of our mentor teams use the mentor tracker, where monthly after they make their visit, they track what their visit was, what they felt their impact was, if there was a financial component to the support of the classroom during that month, and that allows us to collect that data. This fall, we'll also launch the same exact model as a teacher tracker so that we're getting comparative data between the teachers and the mentors, and we'll have that monthly data coming in.
I was going to ask Sonya if you mentioned that ideally, because I kind of wondered about that. You know, you mentioned that ideally someone could have 6 different mentorship experiences. And I was kind of wondering if before you had mentioned that, I was kind of thinking it'd be kind of cool to be able to travel with them. Mm-hmm. But I do see the value in having that variety of experiences and having more breadth there. Does that happen? Are there schools where you could have, because I would think that like we go to South Avondale, you know, the class we have there, but there's other classes that probably aren't sponsored or adopted. And maybe it's just kind of luck of the draw. Is there, I mean, that's probably maybe the goal is to have complete saturation of these schools. Is that something that's a likely possibility, or is it, you know, where you
so now, Justin, you're getting into our strategic planning that internally we're doing currently with our board. And, you know, I was very lucky that they waited until I came on board and gave me time. So in Q1 of 2021, we kicked off our strategic planning for a 5-year plan. Part of that conversation is moving us to looking at saturation in schools. This fall, we will change our management model for our teams. Historically, staff members have been assigned by corporate partner. This year, staff members will be assigned by school. So for example, all of the South Avondale teams will be assigned to one staff member at Adopt a Class, and they will manage all of those teams. The advantage to that is we will start to understand the saturation. We'll start to understand the different companies and where it would benefit us to have increased partners and also increased diversity in the type of partners. You know, for example, we have a significant number of financial institutions that partner with us, which is fabulous. Yeah. But if in 1st grade you're with US Bank, and 2nd grade you're with Fidelity, and 3rd grade you're with Fifth Third, you're really not getting the breadth that we hope you would get. So this will help us manage more effectively how we position our teams within the schools. It will also help us understand at a much deeper level the saturation and the impact at each school. We have, of our 33 schools, we have a significant number that we're over 50% of the classrooms, but we also have a significant number that we have 2 or 3 classrooms. And that's where we want to make that shift.
Sense.
Sonya, has like we have the preschoolers, have there ever been, say US Bank has maybe 4th graders, has there ever been a time like we could take the preschoolers to visit another Adopt a Class, just to see how for them to be able to know what their future when they get older, maybe?
Good question. I don't know that we've done that coordinated effort between grade levels, but I think that, again, as we get into those school-based relationship management from a staff perspective, it would be easier for me to know I have a kindergarten team and I have a 4th grade team at South Avondale. And could we coordinate between the two team leads to be able to do a visit? That will be much easier for us to manage now that we're going to this school-based team management model. So I think that's a question in the future for the staff member that's assigned to South Avondale. But across the program, I think it provides us opportunities to do more of that.
You mentioned earlier about the inability to get empirical data, and that may be because of privacy reasons. Has some thought been made about reaching out to the alumni who graduated from the program then and come back and provide the written feedback that you could then use to provide additional promotional material?
We have started to have those conversations because they end with us at age 14. It takes some effort to track them to 18 and know where their choices are, but that's certainly an interest of mine. So having come from higher education and believe firmly in research, it is on my list. My list got really long on March 21st. So some of the things, we were laughing earlier, but I also laugh all the time with the board. The things I said I thought I could do in the first year with the organization in the interview process went out the window as goals for me to do with the organization the first day I started work, because we had to shift all of our thinking. But we do feel like we've taken the year. I told them earlier, I heard on a webinar recently, don't waste a good crisis. I think we've made the best of this crisis. We have found ways to continue the programming through the pandemic, but also to think forward with reorganizing to the school-based team management model, with expanding the diversification of the types of corporate and civic partners we're recruiting for the fall. So, I think a lot of things are on the horizon for us, but some of those data questions will be built into our new strategic plan as we move forward on how we track impact.
I'm just going to say from what I can tell, because I feel like you interviewed with Julie or you met with Julie, and then the pandemic hit right after that, and you've definitely kept it moving and have done awesome this year.
Well, I appreciate that. For those who don't know, we do have 190 teams still mentoring using a virtual model. They use the platform that the school district uses. They're invited by the teacher. They have done their own curriculum. They've used curriculum that we provide on a monthly basis in our monthly newsletters. And then we've outsourced some partnerships to bring virtual field trip options, like the Reds have done some great virtual field trips into the museum for us. And Great Parks has done animal visits virtually with our students. And the Museum Center has opened their Maya exhibit to our teams and students. The observatory has opened all of their programming to us virtually. So we were able to leverage some of those relationships we've had historically, but in new ways. We also provided speaker series throughout the year, and we provided read alouds for our K-2 classrooms from a variety of authors who have read their own material to people we might know, a newscaster or Chief Isaacs. Chief Winston is going to read for us next month. So we've tried to reach into the community and really pool resources that we felt would keep teams and students highly engaged during this process.
That's great. So let's, if you mentioned, maybe just kind of telling us about how you've pivoted and how you've all your priorities went out the window and you had to just survive. Tell us about the last year and some more of that. What's changed? What have you guys been doing that made it work? Other than
Absolutely. So I shared with Dave and Aisha earlier when we were talking before the start of the call that we've always talked about the achievement gap with students of color and students in high poverty schools. That achievement gap has increased significantly. It used to be a 9 to 12 month achievement gap. We now see it as an additional 12 to 15 months, so almost 2.5 years. From a student in a middle to upper income classroom to students in high poverty schools. That impact is why we said we cannot discontinue any of our programming. And in fact, whatever we can increase, we will do that. So we pivoted to find the teams that were still able to continue their relationships. We supported them with a variety of virtual curriculum that was available to them so that they didn't need to come up with their own curriculum, as well as the speaker series and the read aloud series. We partnered with an author that wrote Danny Dollar Millionaire that many of our teams had already used to talk about financial literacy. And he did a 4-part video series on financial literacy that our teams could use during their visits. As much of our visits as we could continue to have happen, we continue to have happen. But one of the unique opportunities that started to unfold for us is that our corporate partners started to say, what else can we do? So we became this connector between our schools and our corporate partners to say, here are opportunities. So a great example is Cintas. In the fall, Cintas donated PPE to a significant number of the schools that we serve. We just finished a second round of those PPE donations for 6 of our schools in CPS who have very strong summer programs that are about to start. They donated over 270 gallons of hand sanitizer to those 6 schools and 13,000 masks just yesterday. When one of our schools approached us about a summer internship, we said, we'll find those internships for you. When our schools have said, we'd like to have a couple summer career fairs, we said, we'll do that. We'll find the people to speak for you. So along the way, we found our corporate partners wanting to do more. And we were the connector for them because they knew we had the relationships to make those things happen. So we're really proud of the fact that we went above and beyond our typical mentoring model. I'm a firm believer from a nonprofit perspective, it's really important to stay mission centric and do what your mission is. But the pandemic gave us all an opportunity to say, yes, and what else can we do? And we took that opportunity and really worked to be that connector in any relationship that we could. We've been really blessed to continue to have our corporate financial support. We have increased our reach with some support from family foundations. I will say for anyone who is working in the philanthropic space currently, it's a very difficult time to go out and make asks for financial donations. We've reached deep into those corporate partners that we feel could sustain that ask, and they have come through for us. We are setting goals for next fiscal year to look for new funders because our work only happens if we have funders, and to continue to alleviate the ask from our small businesses so that we can bring more small businesses into our fold. As one of the things from a personal perspective, you will get to know about me quickly is that 2 of my kids are kids of color. Most of my kids' experience has been in CPS. We are big believers in having our kids see people who look like them as adults who are important people in their lives. And our students in CPS need to see caring, successful adults who look like them, who tell them, you can do this. You can go beyond high school, and that does not have to be a 4-year pathway at a college. That message is old. They need to know that there are community college pathways, that there are 2-year internship pathways, that there are 7 through 12 high school pathways that put them on a career path the minute they step out of high school. So our goal is to diversify the mentor opportunities for our students we serve, to see those opportunities in the construction industries, in the manufacturing industries, and have them understand that every pathway post high school doesn't look the same, and that they can pick that pathway that works best for them. The other goal is that I want to close the gap on what our mentors look like. Currently, we serve over 70% of students of color. About 80% of our mentors are white. And so we're working to reach out to the African American chamber, the Hispanic chamber. When we get into the trade industries, that will help to diversify our teams. So that's a personal passion that I will tell you I did commit to in my interview process, because that is very important to me. It's been also a professional pathway for me, my entire professional experience in education. So that is happening. We're excited about us starting to expand our reach and having those conversations. Our board is embracing that. We're also, for our mentors who are white middle-class mentors, we're doing a lot of training with them. So one of our largest trainings this year was a diversity, equity, and inclusion training that UC offered. Dr. Marshall from their Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office did a 90-minute training for our mentors on how to work with students in high poverty schools most effectively. It was our highest attended. We had 100 people attend that training. So we know that need is there. And I'll just close in saying that often people ask me how the pandemic changed this last year for me, but I will be very honest that equally George Floyd changed this experience for me, and the way that we think about how we serve students and the conversations we have with our mentors and preparing them to go in and make an impact in students' lives changed in June as much as it changed in March for me. So we're carrying that forward. Our staff is very passionate about that, and we have full board support to continue that work, and that's hard work, but we know it's really critically important for the students that we serve.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. We're proud to be associated with you guys, and excited for all the work that you guys are doing and will do. I like, it's really awesome to hear your vision and your perspective on that. It's really powerful stuff, and we certainly all wish you nothing but success and look forward to helping with that mission and achieving that. So,
and you know, I was thinking one of the asks that might come out of this is that we think about, we have an office team, staff team, but could we create an office team of the Teresas of the office team family, where we have like-minded businesses that all utilize as clients of office team? Could they form a team?
Yeah.
You know, could we find ways to reach out and say, even if you are individually a team of one or two, let's partner you and get you with other people to make a team.
I'd be happy to explore that. Go ahead, Mark, you say something?
Yeah, your contact information again, in case anyone wants to follow up.
Sure. My email is Sonya, SONYA, @aacmentors.org. And certainly if you have any contacts that you feel would be great to connect with, to think about a team, we would welcome that opportunity.
Yeah, we initially started, just to give you a little background, Sonya, and everybody, we first adopted the class, I think it was fall of 2017. We did put it out there to all of our clients, and we kind of did that. Do we do it with clients as well? Is it just us? And we had a couple of people interested. It wasn't enough to really make a team, but we could look at doing that again and pushing that out there and see if there's some interest. It's been long enough that we've had enough. We still have a lot of the same people, but enough new blood that maybe different times people look at it differently. So it's something we should consider.
Great.
So, well, we are about out of time. Again, thank you so much to Sonya. Thank you everybody for joining.